Snitching is in the toolbox of the cartel. They look down upon it when you do it, but it's not a thing that they look down upon when they tell their sons that they're allowed to do it. People would come to my channel, oh, the Flores Twins are snitches and rats. I'm the only person on the internet that's had the twins together on my show.
Can you give some background onto kind of like the Flores Twins like story, like the basic?
Absolutely. So again, me growing up in the 90s and the 2000s making music in Chicago, you know a little bit of everybody. Again, there was the late great Cato Rangel. Cato Rangel was Valerie's husband. Valerie, who is Jay Flores' wife now. He was getting into the music. He's a well-respected Latin king in the city of Chicago. You know, a big timer basically, and he was spending money in the music business. So we were we were the Latino MCs in Chicago, and we were like, yo, this guy's putting money into Latino MCs. We need to go holler at Cato. But then Cato was gone. He was murdered. Oh. And after he was murdered, you know, down the line, Valerie was still doing the music stuff. They had plugged Entertainment, which is Jay's wife, and Jay was in on that. So we were kind of a degree of separation away at that point, you know, in the early 2005 through like 8, you know, when everything went down for them. But as far as them, and you know, they were known. You'd hear about them through the circles or whatever. And then when it all went down, the disappointment came. Like, yo, the guys that brought down El-Chapo are.
But that's right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm saying like these are two twins. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about
the history of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Like
so
they're
to what we're talking about. Jay has gotten on my channel, and while I'm having this conversation about these cartel leaders, he said, "Man, my father's got with my mother when she was 12." You know, and he was their father was a cartel guy. So the Flores Twins, two guys from Little Village. Little Village is a section on the south side of Chicago, a predominantly Mexican section of the south side of Chicago. Its own community amongst itself. A lot of gang movement and stuff in there. And they were basically bred into the business. You know, their father he got out of prison when they were 7 years old and got them into the game. I think now some people would scream that's a form of child abuse in itself. They were in the car with him running Bud across the border, and you know they were twins. Twins were a fairly novelty thing back then, and they were able to smooth the guards and we're just a couple of kids taking a ride with our dad type shit, and they were in the business, and small guys in stature, very smart guys. In a family of hustlers, everybody in the community knew who they were, knew who that family was, knew where they were getting their work from. Their older brother was a Latin king, a predominant Latin king in the community. So he was known as well. So it was kind of an easy, it was a recipe for them to be who they became, And as time went on, they went, their father came out of prison, got them in the game. They went to Mexico to stay with their father. And at some point, their older brother got arrested and locked up. They moved back with him, and he got arrested and locked up. They're 18, 19 years old. Their brother's connect comes along and says, so I got some work. You guys know the business. Can I get this work off? And they flipped 30 kilos in a night. 30 kilos in a night.
That's their first deal?
In a day. And called them back and run another 30.
That's a good lick.
That's a hell of a lick. But they were off and running, They were offering.
That's not an entry level
new
situation.
And here's the thing.
That's starting here.
And anybody could have fucked that up.
Right.
If you gave that to the wrong guys, we would have never heard of their story. They'd have been skinned somewhere and it would have been a wrap, Mm-hmm. But these guys pulled it off, and they pulled it off quickly, and they started flipping again. And it was no looking back from there. From there, they ended up sitting at the table with Mayo and Chapo and the Beltran Leyvas. At that time, it was a beautiful, happy family in the Sinaloa cartel. It was
with the Federation. What do they have another name for?
Something like that. Federation. It's changed names over time, multiple times.
I wrote a story, an article about it called American Narco, where these two guys were actually working. Selling. Pete and I do a whole background of the formation of the Federation,
right.
And how it was like the height of where they were all working together, and it's the same thing too. It starts to fall apart when Mayo and Chapo start targeting their rivals, using the DEA, the American DEA, to chop off the heads of their rivals to try and take their territory. And they're going through Mayo and Chapo's lawyer, I forget his name, and then they're trying to kind of swap it over where that guy, he works his way off. He gives them enough information that he gets himself unindicted through multiple jurisdictions by giving the DEA information on all these rivals, and then they start knocking all these guys off, these cartel leaders off, and then he gets himself removed from several indictments, and then he goes to have Mayo's son was going to kind of take his place, right? And then he ends up getting grabbed accidentally.
Right.
That's my understanding.
Right.
That's my remembering the story.
Here's the thing: keeping the betrayal together, it takes a lot of paper and a lot of listing and a lot of lifetime to figure it all out because there's so much betrayal involved. And like you said, it was a beautiful, happy family at first. This is
They just got greedy.
The height of their power, you know? And that was one thing when I started covering this that, you know, people would come to my channel, oh, the Flores Twins are snitches and rats. And then I come to find out, wait a minute, snitching is in the toolbox of the cartel. This is not a thing that they look down upon it when you do it, but it's not a thing that they look down upon when they tell their sons that they're allowed to do it.
Right.
You know, and you know, that whole thing started fracturing with I believe it was Mochomo. Was it Mochomo? One of the brothers of the Beltran Leyvas, like you said, that Chapo put in prison, and that created the betrayal, and they started separating, and things started falling apart. But it was a beautiful thing then. But I think the twins were ahead of their time in the sense that they saw that this was just nothing but betrayal. He tells a story of one guy didn't shake Chapo's hand and thousands of people died over this, you know? And it's like once you've reached that point, you're no longer selling drugs. You're just a crazy man with a lot of money and you smoking a lot of people. That's all you are. You know what I'm saying? You're the police when you want to be the police, and you're the cartel boss when you want to be the cartel boss. You know, you're sending people to jail. You're doing all of these things. It's like, wait, you guys use snitching as a tactic? So that's very different from the street culture. What me growing up was me and you rob a liquor store. You know, I don't want. If I rat on you for less time, then I snitched on you. You know what I'm saying? But if there's a show, I live next door. You remember when Cameron was on? I believe it was O'Reilly Factor, and O'Reilly told him, well, if Cameron's like, I don't deal with the police. I don't talk to the police. And he's like, well, if there's a show out next door, and he's like, I'll move. No.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, that's come on,
No.
bro.
It's two things. You split them.
Right.
You do what you got to do and you split them, or you call the cops to get rid of them because karma's going to take too long. You can't snitch on a show. There's no such thing. You're not in business with this dude. You had nothing to do with this. I think the no snitching culture is being lied to for these kids. How could you be no snitching, but you're wearing a Chapo shirt and this guy is notorious for this shit? You know, and you're feeling around judged by a bunch of people that don't know the story.
What's funny is everybody says, oh, well, they always say like the snitching on a show. Oh, snitching on a show, like, oh, that's different. Wait a minute. Your mother loses her inheritance to a guy who's running a Ponzi scheme. She invests in she invests her retirement fund into a Ponzi scheme. The guy spends all the money, loses it. The Ponzi scheme starts to collapse. Do you want the other people in the Ponzi scheme to cooperate with the authorities to try and get that money back? Right. Oh, well, that's different. No. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always these other levels. And then guys that I've known in prison who they would find out that their paperwork was no good, right? Like they cooperated. It was not one time did I ever see one of those guys go, yeah, fuck it, bro. I was going to get 10 years off my time and fuck him. Right. He would have done it to me. I don't give a fuck. Even if he wouldn't have done it to me.
Fuck it. Deny.
No, it was always, no, you don't understand. My cousin it was always, you don't understand. That guy, he's a fucking piece of shit, bro. It's like, you can always justify it to yourself that it's acceptable until it's done to you. And then they're snitches. But the truth, if you ask that guy, he'll be like, nah, don't you understand, man? Fucking Jimmy fucked me over for $50,000 6 months earlier. He's a piece of shit. And then Jimmy's like, oh, well, that's not a reason to snitch on me. Stop it.
Yeah, enough.
They can justify it, bro.
Enough. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why when I was doing the channel, I got tired of the picking and choosing. People coming on there, since the twins were predominantly on my channel more than any other. I mean, if I can get the combined experience and perspective of the Flores twins, you know, a couple of guys that lived through a lot in a very small amount of time. It's my place to take that. When people start getting in the comments and bitching about snitching, and it's like, Papa, you're picking and choosing. It's okay for your cousin. It's okay for Mayo's son, Vicentillo. You know, you guys come in here, rap, but then you put your little cowboy hat emoji, and it's like, wait, you got your little cowboy hat emoji. What about him? He snitched too. What about Mayo and Chapo having meetings with their sons and saying, hey, man, it's okay as long as you do this? It was bad because the twins did it? Mm-hmm. Nah. Why are we even having the snitch argument when they're all snitches? What are we talking about here? We're not... People didn't want me to get to the rest of the story because they just wanted to concentrate on their snitches. And I told them, you know, if the twins are on the show, they know that I know what they did. They call themselves snitches. What can I tell them that they don't know? This is Eminem and 8 Mile. You know what I'm saying? What more information can they give you? They told you everything. So can we hear the rest of the story now? Or you just want me to scream snitch in their face every time they get on the show?
Right.
You know? So I felt like that was disingenuous, and it just made me dig deeper into, you know, when you come from the hood, you look at the guy with money and you say, it's glorified in movies, it's glorified in TVs, it's part of the culture, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure cooperating is different when you don't have to go back to a community that holds that shit over your head and you got to live next door to a dude that got snitched on by somebody else.
I was going to say, you know what's funny? If you ask most of these guys what some of their favorite movies are, American Gangster, Snitch, George Young, Blow.
This is part of the story.
Right. I was going to say, George Young, if you read the book, he's a snitch. They don't talk about that in the movie. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're all your favorite fucking big time guys.
Well, this is how I ended up covering the twins specifically. 50 Cent made an announcement on Instagram that he was doing a podcast with them and that he was going to do their TV show. As a joke, and I'm not one to tag celebrities. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
As a joke, I said, Fifth, I want to be on this show, but I don't want to play none of these rats. Not 10 minutes later, 50 Cent put up images of every Oscar award-winning actor that ever played a rat in any movie on a big screen or TV, and he placed it right there, and he said, these are all the Oscar award. Y'all love this shit. Y'all watch this shit. Y'all love. Fifth, I was just kidding, man. You know what I'm saying? Do my thing, you know? So, and that's how I got into it. I got into, I said to myself, these single videos are not working. I need something that's going to hook them and keep them coming for episode 2, 3, 4, 5. I was going to listen to the Surviving El-Chapo podcast anyway. I said, let me just do it on my live stream or on my channel. I was new to this YouTube situation. And I started doing it, and it instantly caught on with the people. And then little did I know, I had the twins in the comments in the background, and I didn't know who they were. And I'm shitting on them, Matt. They were showing everybody their money. They just opened their safe to the whole neighborhood. They want everybody to know what they got. They want everybody to know where they're at. Oh, they fucked up here, they fucked up there. And I was just being me with my experience, what I know. They were digging that. Out of nowhere, I get a call that Valerie wants to talk. I'm like, oh shit. They sent the pit bull after me. You know what I'm saying? She's the pit bull. She got on my show and she was like, Shy, man, you killing it. We love that you giving your honest opinion and you're from the city and you know what the hell we're talking about. And that's how this all happened from me having that conversation on Instagram with Fifth about all these snitches. And cause you know, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like that it was a couple of guys from Chicago that knocked down this big drug dealer. I felt like that was putting smut on our name, you know? And Chicago's quick to say, New York, y'all got a rap problem. You know, but everybody got a rap problem.
Right.
You know, since we were having this conversation recently, since on my channel, since the penalties for drug dealing have gotten so much worse, the infrastructure for cooperation it's turned into big business. Mm-hmm. You know, DEA spending hundreds of millions of dollars on cooperation. FBI spending hundreds of millions of dollars on the cooperation. ATF spending hundreds of millions. So the game is dead, y'all. Between cameras, cooperation, and all of that, it's a wrap. What else do you got? If I go outside right now and I go to commit a crime down the block, it's 30 cameras that caught every step that I took on my way there.
Every ring camera in this whole every single house in this whole neighborhood has a ring camera.
Yeah. So why are we lying to these kids, telling these kids that there's a future, that they could be Chapo, that put them on a shirt? Let's put them on a shirt, and you don't really know what's going on.
I mean, you can be Chapo. You're going to be locked up
Yeah,
in
you could be
ADX
locked
for the
up
rest
in
of your
ADX
fucking life.
because he was only Chapo for a certain amount of time. The twins were only a twins for a certain amount of time.
So what happened? So with them, let's go back to them. So they're dealing big time in Chicago, right? And how do they end up getting next to the cartel? Like, how does that happen?
So what happens is the twins are in Chicago. They're doing their thing. I believe it was Jay goes off to get married, and he goes to Mexico with Val. During that time, some kind of indictment came down in Wisconsin, and P was a fugitive. Peter was a fugitive. So Peter went and met them in Mexico.
Who's Peter?
Peter Flores.
Oh, okay.
Pedro Flores. So Pedro Flores goes and meets up with Jay in Mexico. He's on the run. He got to get out the U.S. You know, he gets out. At some point, they have an uncle, quote unquote uncle,
Right.
who's their plug. His name is Lupe Ledesma. Lupe they got hit. One of their operations got hit. They lost some money. The twins were always ones to have money to they fix things with their brains. You know, they went and worked at McDonald's just so that they can figure out what is it that makes McDonald's what it is. And they figured out it was the compartmentalization of the jobs. That if you have your job, I give you your job, you can't fuck that up.
Right.
If I have you do A, B, and C, you might fuck that up. But if I have you just doing A, you got it, right? And they go to Mexico, they get with Lupe. Lupe says they owe him something, but they're not worried about it. And I'm talking about, this is a man who Peter Flores would make sure took his medication. Like, that's the kind of relationship they had. Like, yo, you good? You took your medication, and make sure he was right. Well, one day, Peter comes up missing, and the uncle comes up missing. And Jay finds out that they've kidnapped his brother and his uncle.
Who's they?
Don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
So he finds out they kidnapped his brother and his uncle, and he's trying to get them back, and he doesn't know which way to go, and he gets through to somebody that gets him through to Chapo, right? But he goes there, and he says it's like a 17-year-old kid flying a Cessna. He gets in the Cessna. Jay gets in the Cessna. He said there's a 50 cal in the back, and they tell him, if you see the government plane out here, get busy with that 50 cal. Jay's like, what the fuck? Boom. He said they land on the side of a mountain, all right? He lands on the side of the mountain, and they bring him. He said they brought him to the man. He said it didn't look like nothing special. Guy with a trucker hat, some jeans and flannel. And they said, sir, they introduced him. They introduced Jay. You know, Peter had been kidnapped multiple times. This is how we know. The first guy that kidnapped him was Saul. It was a guy from the neighborhood. He was a thief, but he had a partner that was a cop.
But this was in Chicago.
This was in Chicago.
Oh,
so
geez.
that already happened. So this is a whole nother kidnapping, you know? There's a whole nother kidnapping. I know we're all over the place with that, but
this isn't his first time.
Yeah, and that's something to talk about, because that guy made $1 million snitching. That guy had a cop that was his partner. Everybody went to jail, you know? But we'll get to that. But so, boom, he gets kidnapped. Jay goes to, so Jay's always the one that got to go figure it out.
Right.
So he goes to figure it out. And Chapo says, well, you owe me. He didn't even know the number. Chapo says, you owe me $10 million. And he didn't know the number at that point. He said, but I don't owe you $10 million. And Jay, they're very astute. He pulls out his logs.
I owe 1.7 million.
I got receipts.
Right.
I got receipts. El Chapinsky, I got you, bro. And Chapo's like, bro, anybody could write on that paper. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean, that's what it is. From my understanding, you owe me $10 million. And he's like, Chapo, I'm trying to get my brother back. I'm trying to help you understand. And then he kind of says something to the effect of, well, do we know if Lupe is okay? And Chapo's like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, they said Lupe got snatched with my brother too. Who told you that? And they were like, he was like, nah, Lupe's fine. So it was Lupe who kidnapped Peter.
Oh, okay.
It was Lupe who kidnapped Peter. So now Jay's putting all this is happening in his head while he's standing there with dude. And ironically, he tells him, if you want me to believe that Lupe did that, you have to get me proof. And Jay said, how can I get you proof? And Chapo gave him the idea to record Lupe.
Okay.
I thought the irony in that was just too much, that years down the line,
Yeah.
these dudes knock you down with a conversation that's recorded, but you planted the seed for that, Papas. That was a misstep right there. You put that shit in their head and boom, they had something now, you know? So he goes to clear it up. They say, okay, I'm gonna give you 3 guys. I'm gonna send you over there. You go over there and you get him on tape. They get over there. As soon as they get there, Lupe comes out. All his guys come out with hammers in Jay's face. Pissed off, arguing, because Lupe's on a, you're not gonna, you owe $10 million. I don't know shit. You owe $10 million. And Jay's like, bro, how could you do this? How could, we family. How could you do this? They get into an argument or whatever. He wants to smoke Jay because he wants Jay to shut his mouth. He don't want Chapo knowing all of these things that he's doing. So they have this conversation. He gets it on tape. And because of the grace of Chapo giving them 2 guys, Jay gets out of there alive. And they go back and they report to Chapo and they say, hey, man, here's the tape. And Chapo's disappointed. He's like, damn, Lupe. Then he looks at Jay and says, you still owe me $10 million. Not Lupe owe me 10. You still owe me 10. Somebody else. Lupe gonna, my thought is Lupe gonna pay with his life. One of y'all gonna give me my $10 million, So then they got into a position where they had to raise the money, get the money together, jewelry, whatever they could do. He put them in.
Why is it 10 million? Is it really 10 million? You just came up with a fucking number.
I guess Lupe shorted Chapo 10 million.
Oh, okay.
So he put that 10 million on them. And they were the distributor. They were the guy. Basically, Chapo was saying, well, I thought you guys were Lupe's workers. And Jay was like, no, he fucking works for us. We're the guys, basically. We're the guys that pay for the shit, distribute the shit, do it all, So, boom, Lupe did that. He's like, you still owe us the 10 million. Jay had to figure out the 10 million to get his brother. And I must say, man, if you listen to that story, Peter Flores almost did not make it. And I think he suffers from not the kidney disease, but kidney problems and stuff to this day over the abuse that he took sitting there. I remember how long he was there. I don't know if it was 19 days or something 2 weekish, 3 weekish. And then I believe it got to the point where he was about to die on their hands. Yeah, in their custody. And they were like, you know what? Get that money together, bro, but we're going to give you your brother back. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry. We're going to give you your brother back. But he was in bad shape. They just leave him out in the darkness of nowhere. He's emaciated. He's unkept. He's beard. He's thin. He said that he was on a hill, and with all the energy he had, he got down the hill to see if he can get signal because they threw him a cell phone. Realized the signal was worse down there than up there, so he had to make his way back up the hill, and he just didn't have it. And he finally gets through to his brother, and they don't know where he's at. He don't know where he's at. They don't know where he's at. He's just driving, and the phone's dying. And he's trying, and they got to use somehow their twin telepathy worked out for them. I guess there was a huge mountain that you drive down. And Jay was like, bro, if you see the lights, I'm going to flash my lights. I'm going to flash my lights coming down the mountain. And he flashed his lights and he peeped them and he was like, keep coming. And he went and rescued his brother and saved his brother out there. But after they paid that money and saved his brother, Chapo was like, I like the way these guys handle this shit. I hear nothing but good things about the money, and they became the golden goose of the Sinaloa cartel. And if you ask me, they at the dismay of all of the other sicarios that sold, because that's what everybody thinks. Everybody's a drug trafficker. No, some of these guys are just goons that sell a little work on the side. You know what I'm saying? They're not sitting at the table making decisions with Mayo Chapo. One of the first things, when they went back and they met up with Mayo and Chapo and they saw Peter and they were like, man, glad to see you alive. Even it's such a dirtbag situation too, because during this time that Jay's trying to get his brother back, Chapo had just lost his brother. So he's telling Jay, I just lost a brother, bro. You should do anything to get your brother back. Losing a brother is horrible. It's like, man, fuck your advice.
I was going to say, you could get my brother back right fucking now.
Yeah, all you got to do is snap your fingers. But yeah, so to the dismay of other guys, they made a decision and they told Chapo and Mayo, we don't want to deal with no middlemen. because we don't want that to happen again.
Right.
I don't want to. I'm not under no Chino Anthrax. I'm not under none of these guys. I'm just throwing that name out there because those guys weren't even on the radar. We had this argument in the comments. Like, people want what they think in their head to be how it was, and it's like, look, man, there's 4 sides to a table. You know what I'm saying? There's not 50 sides to a table where you got all of these guys get to sit with these guys and make decisions. But at that point, the Twins in their early 20s, because they're 19, 20, 21 years old. I mean, they were 25 when they turned themselves in. At that point, they're sitting at the table with the people who have been the bosses for the last 30 years, you know, and they were the golden goose. They were the golden goose. And that's why when the split happened, it was like, okay, you work with them, we're going to smoke you. And then they were saying, if you work with them, we're going to smoke you. So when I was first breaking this down and everybody was bitching about them snitching, I said to myself, okay, well, what do you do when I get it. You robbed the liquor store, somebody snitched, or you sold a couple nickel bags and somebody snitched. But what happens when you've reached the top of the game and there's nowhere else to go? Mm-hmm. You got 3 options in their situation. Okay, we're threatening to kill you. If you work with them, okay, you got 3 options. You just let them kill everybody. You die, your family gets wiped out. You go smoke Chapo, you smoke Mayo, you smoke them all, and you become the man. Or you go to the federal government.
I was going to say, or you just do what? Life in prison?
Oh,
you know
yeah. There you go. There's the 4th.
That's what.
Well, I think that goes with dying.
Right. I was going to say, that's what everybody in the comments section always wants. Well, you do the time, bro. You just do the time. Like, get the fuck it. You work at fucking Walmart.
For a bunch of dudes
shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You work at fucking Walmart. Well, I kept my mouth shut. You got pulled over one time with a fucking dime bag and on the side of the fucking road, or maybe brought downtown, and you told the fucking cop, I don't know who did it, and you ended up with 2 years probation. Like, stop it. You were never fine. Or I love it when the guys say, oh, the cops, he told me I was facing 20 years. You were caught with a fucking dime bag. They told me I was facing 150 fucking years. You know what I'm saying? So cut the shit. Right. They're always going to scare you.
Right.
You fucking held strong. You didn't tell them who your fucking contact was. You got 2 years probation. You were never facing 20 years. Right. You were facing 2 years probation, which is what you pled guilty to. Right. Like stop it.
And you know that if you ever got caught with more than what you just got caught with.
Right.
You
But you weren't even competent to get any more than that.
Right,
you see what I'm saying? Like, I love these guys that work at fucking Walmart. I hate to say Walmart because everybody's like, what's wrong with Walmart?
Come on, man. You got to go to Walmart every now and then.
I got to pick a better. I want to go. Let's go with Target. You work at you stock shelves at Target. Uh-huh. You've watched all the Godfathers. Mm-hmm. You think you're a gangster.
Yeah.
Like, stop, bro. You don't fucking know.
Yeah.
You know, when you get locked up and you don't have bond, and your wife and 2 kids are sitting in that fucking room with you, crying their fucking eyes out, and you already know she ain't waiting. Mm-hmm. My kids are calling somebody else daddy. If I even get more than a couple years, they're calling somebody else daddy. And I know this woman. She'll turn on me. She'll turn those kids on me. She ain't coming to see me. Some other dude's banging her. And let's face it, you're a $135, and you ain't taking on some 6-foot fucking guy when you get out. You never see your kids.
And for the first year, you're on the phone. Where you was at last night, bitch? Or what you was doing today?
Or I go ahead and I cooperate, and I may be and they'll give me bond immediately, and I'll get 5 years paper.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I argue with the guys about it too, because there are guys that do hold it down and stand up, and they do it the time forever. Good for them. Salute to them. They made their choice. I was watching last night, a crime and investigations documentary on John Gotti Jr. And I was watching a conversation that John Gotti Jr. had with his father the last time he saw him, where he was like, if I'm gonna take a plea, I have to talk to my father first. And by this time, John Gotti was already, the cancer was eating him up. He had half a jaw. But if you watch the video, he's sitting there telling himself, where your balls at? Stand up. Be a man. You know, and the son said to him, Dad, the son went in there to tell him, Dad, I'm going to take this plea.
Yeah.
And you could see him crumbling under the pressure of this man who's
hoping,
a shell.
He's probably hoping that he would say, do it.
Do it. So he's going in there to see a man who's a shell of himself, but that shell is still crushing him under the pressure of who he is. Salutes to John Gotti for being that dude that had lived by a code and said, this is who I am. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say fuck you to the government to the day that I die and beyond, because John Gotti gave the government a lot of fuck yous, right? But towards the end of it, he said he gave up, and he tells him, look, just try to, he told him the truth though. He said, they're going to keep hunting for you. They're never going to let you rest I mean, John Gotti Jr. ended up beating more cases than the Teflon Don ever did. But he told him, try to get no time, or at least get out in time to raise your kid. It's a decision he made for his family. So it's a different decision than his father made. There are stand-up guys. The guys who cooperated will say, those guys are fucking stupid, right? And those guys will say, those guys are fucking rats. You know?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, those guys are rats. But I had to honor and respect the guys that lived by a code.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Skinny Joey Merlino. See, I don't think he'd ever take a fucking plea, ever. You know,
Right.
I don't, not a plea. Sorry, I don't think he would never. I don't think he'd ever cooperate. I think he'd rather just go to prison for the rest of his life. Okay, good for you.
That's on
you know.
What is it that we say a lot on the channel? Jay brought it up. He said it's written all over the jail. Some guy snitch, and there's two kind of guys in prison: the guy who snitched and the guy who wish he snitched.
Right.
You know, and my thing is, like one time I had an argument with Jay because he was like, yeah, guys will come to my channel and be like, Jay, I'm in a fucked up position. What can I do? And he want to consult him. I'm like, that's cool. You can start a snitch school, but how about we teach these kids to stay out the crime business because it's fucking dead.
Right.
Let's keep them out of it all together because it's a dead situation. You know what I'm saying? But I still, like I said, I have to honor a man who lives by a code. There's a lot of guys out there that don't have a code. Some people think that because you cooperated in a legal situation, I can't cheat on my wife in front of you, Matt, because you might go tell my wife some shit.
I always love that. It always becomes 100% extreme. You telling your own mother.
Yeah.
You this. Stop, bro.
Yeah.
Cut the fuck.
My mother ain't got shit to tell her.
Yeah, come on, man. Like it's always one extreme to the other.
Right.
Like
it's a case for every person. It's what they go through and what's happening. And sometimes you get railroaded by the government. You give them so much, give them so much, give them so much, and they give you a kick in your ass.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're not. You can't trust the government either.
Yeah, no.
So at what point? So Chapo is now dealing with the twins non-fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
He's sending what? Thousands of keys.
Listen, we
every
can throw
single
numbers
month.
around all day.
It's insane.
But let's just say that we have this argument on the channel that who's the bigger American? There was no bigger American drug dealers than the Flores Twins. It's just what it is.
So what happens? How does that fall apart?
So they just sitting around watching the betrayal. They're watching how, and they're sitting on one ass cheek like, yo, all I have to do is serve this guy a cold cup of coffee over here. Not even Chapo, a Sicario for him to turn on me, and next thing you know, there's some shit going down,
Yeah.
They started seeing those things. They started recognizing those things. They started seeing, he told the story on a live stream like 2 weeks ago about a friend of theirs who just got caught. He might be getting extradited to this country. A friend of theirs that just got caught that he met the day that he met Chapo. And he talks about a phone call where the guy's sitting next to him. Mayo's people get on the phone with Jay. And they say, hey, man, we just letting you know that any of those Beltran Leyva guys, we see any of them, everybody's dead. We're not playing no games. This is a wrap. We see them, they're done. And not only if we see them, we looking for them. Dude's sitting right next to him. I believe his name was Payo. And they said, as a matter of fact, Jay, what's up with your boy Payo? Sitting right there shitting himself. And Jay's like, yeah, the war got hot. Went back to his family in the States. Yeah, why don't you hit him up, try to convince him to come back. I mean, I could try, but, I don't think he's going to do it. We'll give it a try anyway. And dude's sitting there like, what is going on? And that's what they were seeing. It was just a matter of time.
I was getting, not just that, if they found out that he was sitting right next to him and I was on speaker and you did, now you're done.
Done. Not just you, your twin brother, his wife, your wife, kid, everybody gone. And everything that's happening now with Ovidio, Joaquin, cooperating, getting 17 family members sent to this, you can be an illegal immigrant in this country. All you have to do is cooperate. If you got somebody big enough to cooperate against, like El Mayo, they'll bring your whole family over the border, But all of these things that are happening now, all of these betrayals, all of these wars, they saw that shit coming.
Right. So what happened? Do they get busted?
No.
They just say,
no,
we can't do this anymore. It's
and
going to catch up with...
I heard Johnny Mitchell one time say, he was telling Charlie, the girl that did the podcast with the twins, he was like, those are the worst. But it's like in their position, no, they reached out to the United States government because you know what Jay not likens it to, he attributes it to an interview he saw of Sammy the Bull Gravano. He saw how much time Sammy the Bull got for his deal, and he reached out to his brother and said, maybe we could do this. Maybe we can get out of this, because they felt the pressure. They knew this ain't forever. They were smart enough to see the signs at 25 years old, signs that these 40, 50, 60-year-old men couldn't see. And they made the decision themselves. They were only fugitives with the Wisconsin case, as far as the Wisconsin case goes, but they weren't being hunted. These guys were living it up. You know what I'm saying? They had it all. They had the money. They was pushing loads through submarines, trains, planes, automobiles, whatever it is. And one day they had that conversation. Jay told his brother Peter, hey man, maybe we could do this. If he was like, get the fuck out of here. You're trying to get everybody killed. Then later on that night,
thought about it.
Maybe we could do this shit, dog. And then it became, okay, how do we get in contact with the United States government? That became a whole thing, And the government basically told them, well, yeah, you could do it, but you're on your own. Don't expect no help from us. Don't expect a recorder from us. You just got to get us evidence, but you got to do it on your own. And those dudes, and here's another thing.
That doesn't even, that.
And like, people say I cape for these guys like I'm the superhero for the twins. No, I'm the superhero for the truth and common fucking sense. And I don't want to hear they're not built for this. They're not built for this. Motherfucker, they made it to the table by 25 years old. They were built for it, bro. They were built for it. They were built for drug dealing. They made it to the table. How can you say they weren't when nobody will ever reach the lengths that they've reached, right? They went undercover basically 9 months in Mexico. That shit is unheard of if he ain't some kind of special ops,
Could you imagine what would have happened if they'd even caught wind of that?
Bro.
What they would, these guys, they'd keep them alive for fucking 6 months, torturing them. That would have been a pain nobody should bear.
How you gonna call those guys pussies?
I'd have been fucking terrified.
How you gonna call those guys pussies? Like, yo, they're pussies. They was undercover. They could have probably cut bait and just came back to the United States and figured something out. You know
what's so funny is that I don't know the whole story. Like I didn't know that. I always assumed they were indicted.
Nope.
And they decided to cooperate, which they were indicted, but they weren't in danger of being like these guys. Some of these guys go indicted for fucking decades.
Exactly.
Like they were in a completely different jurisdiction. They weren't, and that they decided, you know what we need to do? Let's go in. Like that to me, that's not, hey, I'm trying to. I guess they are still kind of trying to save their ass, but they're not saving their ass from the government. They're saving their ass from let's say the industry.
Mm-hmm.
In general, yeah.
Because keep in mind, not only are they doing this reconnaissance, not only are they trying to get these receipts and information, but there's a war going on at the same time that they're in the middle of, and a business happening. So in this 9 months, they're giving up loads to the government. They're coming up short on money that they never came up short on before. They got to answer questions that they never had to answer before, But all of these things had to happen. If you look at the conversation that Pedro had that eventually got Chapo on the line. So they recorded mad phone calls like with Chapo's kids, getting in contact with Chapo, but they needed to get Chapo on the phone and they needed to get Chapo talking numbers. There was some deal that they had, and they didn't like to deal in anything other than the blow. But in the cartel, they're going to throw you a bone, you're going to take it because that's what you do to keep them happy, all right? They had this blow shipment. If you listen to that phone call, they're telling Chapo, can you give me a $5,000 discount because I'm trying to make something up because that heroin we got, half of that shit was bad. They said, Shy, that shit was perfect. It was beautiful. But we had to tell him that in order to get him to start talking these negotiations about money because that's what they needed on the recording. 9 months undercover doing that. They said they would go in the bathroom with the wives and have these conversations amongst themselves. And even when they told the wives, the wives were like, what? Valerie, we're thinking about talking. Valerie, I'm not no snitch. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing this because in the past they had tried to make Valerie testify against her ex-husband. They tried to get her to wear wire on him. She didn't go, and they put her in jail over the shit. So they had to. It was a family situation where they had to deal with each other, figure out with each other, and then they had to go undercover for 9 months. And then they didn't know when the U.S. was going to come save them, or once they sent them the tape. Then the U.S. was like, we're coming for you. We're coming to get you. There was no plan in place. Because in their mind, it was like, is this gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? So they were just doing. They weren't preparing for the day that the investigation was over and it was time to get on a plane and go. So the feds were coming to get Peter and Jay, but the wives, the kids, the brothers, the mother, the father, they're all there. And they got security that is part of the Sinaloa cartel. They had to fake, we're arguing, Val flipping out. They said, we're coming to get you. Val flipping out, getting all the paperwork, anything that could connect them to the U.S., anything that can get their address, that could dox them in the U.S., anything. They're burning shit. And she's flipping out, and the security's looking, what the fuck is going on? Oh, they're arguing. They're just arguing. They got beef. The twins rode out. Now it's the wife's got to figure out how to get across the border. So they jump in these expensive cars in the middle of, they're freaking out. Their husbands were just taken. They know what's happening. They had to explain to everybody else what's happening because they're looking funny at what's going on. No, we just got to go do this. And there was no plan. I shit all over them in that podcast, the Surviving El-Chapo podcast, when I did my reaction to it. Because I was like, how do you do 9 months of being undercover and you don't got a plan, an exit strategy to get everybody out of there? And it was just too much. They were under too much, you know? Val, being the go-getter that she is, she piled everybody up. You know, Val and Vivi piled everybody up, and they got their asses in the car, and they went. They got to the border. They didn't want to let their father, the twins' father and brother, across the border, so they had to stay a little longer. They didn't want to let his kids, one of the kids, come in because one of the kids was born there. So it was a whole shit show, you know. But they got out of there. They made it out of there, and the twins got flown over. And next thing you know, then they got it there, and then they, you know, as you know, they had to sit their ass down at a desk just like this. And for the next 7 months, they had to give all the more information they had, you know. And another strange thing about the twins that's different from everything else, they weren't psychopaths. I heard you say somebody had told you about a chick that was threatening to blow up your operation. They were like, why don't you kill her? And you were like, because I'm not a killer, motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know
I'm not going to kill anybody.
Coming from where I come
Trust
from.
me. If I was,
yeah,
she'd have been the one. There were some nights when I did some planning.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But after a little, I'm like, I can't do it.
And those thoughts ain't illegal. Those thoughts ain't illegal. You can't get charged for them thoughts.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where Ghost Bed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, Ghost Bed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide.
People always said, you know, people believed that the twins had something to do with Valerie's husband, Cato, being killed, right? Because they quickly got together. Right?
We've been killed, like Jesus.
Oh yeah, he was murdered. He was murdered in it was like a truck trailer, but it was a barbershop. And he was sitting there watching the finals, and somebody came back up behind him and smoked him, you know? And people always, and then not long after, Jay and Val were together, but they were all very close anyway, you know, already, you know what I'm saying? So that, it wasn't like they got together and then, you know, learned each other and fell in love. No, it was like this shit happened. She leaned on him, things happened, and they ended up together. But everybody in my city believed, including me, that they had something to do with Cato getting smoked, right? And people used to use that to, like, you know, to shame them even before they cooperated, you know, while they were doing their thing. Oh no, they did this. And I believed it too. So then I come to the conclusion that these guys don't have no bodies on their case.
Yeah, I like that about their story. Like
Not one.
I really like that. I talked to Jay and he was saying, and he was saying that the interest is that he's like if somebody somebody ripped us off, he's like we're not going to go have him killed. We're not going to pay somebody to kill him. We're certainly not going to kill him. He's like, well, they don't get to deal with this anymore, and that's going to hurt them in the long run. That's just the way it is. And I was thinking, and it's funny too, because when we wrote the story, American Narco, Pete this is when I was locked up with Pete in prison.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and Pierre Rossini.
Oh, Pierre,
and yeah.
okay.
So because you keep jumping between.
Yeah, I'll say Pedro from now on. Yeah.
But he kept talking about them, and he was just like, "Listen, these guys have a story." He's like, "They're not psycho killers. They're not." He's like, "They're smart. They did it in a very sophisticated way. They saw that there was an issue. He's like, they were in the right position at the right time to take advantage of the situation." Like, he was very impressed with how the whole thing unfolded. And he used to say, "Man, it's a fucking amazing story.
It is.
Like, we ought to write this story." And I'm like, "We're fucking locked up in like, what?" He's like, "No, we can order." Listen, he's always willing to bring on these massive projects. And I'm like, "Are you fucking, I gotta order $1,000 worth of transcripts to try and
Pierre's
put
an
together."
ambitious guy,
Yeah,
bro.
he is. And I was like, "Can we finish this where we've got the guy sitting in front of us?"
Right.
So,
So I saw that they didn't have no body. Well, that was the word. The word is they had no bodies, and that's how they dealt with it. They dealt with it as breakage. If you rob me, cool, then guess you don't work here no more. You know what I'm saying?
Murders bring on a lot more heat.
Yeah, absolutely. And they knew that. It wasn't just some moral. No, they knew it was morality, and it was the I'm not a killer. I know I'm not a killer.
Right.
I know that's not me. And I know where that ends up. I know where that leads. Same way they saw it with the cartel doing it to each other. They knew where it led for them. And people ain't gonna just believe that you ain't got no bodies because there's no precedent for it. They are the precedent for it. They are the precedent of guys that made it to the absolute top without bodies. And then people say, "Oh, but how you believe that, Shy? How you believe they didn't do?" And here's what I don't like. I don't like disingenuous motherfuckers on the internet commenting with their, from this moral high ground bullshit. People used to lie and say, Shy, they had to do it then. If they didn't do it, then why Valerie don't let Kato's mom see his kid? And it's like, Valerie and Kato don't have kids together. So you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And then they want to use Kato's name, and it's like you don't care about Kato. You just want to talk shit. So keep his name out of your fucking mouth and don't talk about him no more.
Right. Everybody's an expert in the comments.
Everybody's an expert in the comments. But and they say, "Shai, how could you believe this?" I said, because these motherfuckers had to tell all of their crimes. And if the feds find, you know how easy it is to find a body on these fools? If they find a body on these fools, deal out the window, you're going back to prison for the rest of your fucking life. Why in none of this would they not, in none of this immunity that they were going to get, did they come off all the bodies and put all the body bags on the table? They didn't do that, right? Because they ain't got no bodies, period. If you can't believe that, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, well, there's some people, no matter how much information or whatever the new term is, receipts, no matter how much you provide, they've got their version in their mind and they're not going to change.
Yeah, never enough evidence for a fool.
Yeah. Oh, I like that's better. That's a much faster version.
Oh, I say it all the time on my channel. When we're trying to get somebody to understand, never enough evidence for a fool. And these people do 2.5 seconds of investigation of information, and then the next thing you know, they're pros. They want to tell you what you're talking about. And again, I didn't know. I was just coming off of common sense when I was reacting to their moves. Common sense, what I learned in the street, shit like that. But then getting their insight, that opened up different ideas, different thoughts, different possibilities. These guys are not that. Like Pierre said, these guys were business guys that were definitely built for that business. You know what I'm saying? And they did it well. But where were we? As far as them having no bodies, I think that's a precedent. I think that's some revolutionary shit when it comes to a crime story of this magnitude.
Right. So they get grabbed, they get brought back, and then what? They have to they provide the information to the government.
Then they got to get more information, and from my understanding, it was trying to save their friends, because if you talk, and I'm telling you, I get the calls from behind the scenes. Like I become like a second. I get the calls, and it's because I put the call out. This is not a channel to just cape and be superheroes for the Flores Twins. If you have been hurt by the Flores Twins' decisions, we'll talk to you. They'll talk to you. We'll have this conversation. So people call me, but they don't want to talk. You know, what you see on the internet is liars and people who have already cooperated that want to speak. The people that haven't cooperated and shit like that, they don't want to talk too much publicly on the internet. But they reach out to me and stuff like that through behind the scenes. So, and they tell me, this wasn't just some drug organizations. We were family. We'd go stay in Mexico with these dudes for this certain amount of time. And these weren't just Mexican dudes. These were mostly black dudes. They mostly dealt with black dudes in Chicago. And those guys say it was a family situation. And they say, Shai, I would never. I would have took a bullet for them dudes. I would never. And supposedly they tried during this, giving their all their information to kind of send the word out like, bro, you should cooperate. This is what's happening. Give the heads up. You know, some guys took it and got out in 10 years, 12 years, 6 years. Some didn't, and they're doing football numbers.
Yeah.
You know, so, but they spent the next 7 months doing that. And then it was time to go to prison. And then they went to prison. And then they were separated. You know why they were separated, right? There's a thing called the 3 Bs. And I'm not gonna say which one of them did it. Y'all could find that information on the internet because I don't get the text. Lady, you sold me out. Salutes to them though. I fuck with them. They would get, it's the 3 Bs: billboards, babies, and a Bentley. A baby was conceived during a visit.
That's not good.
They bought billboards on the way to the prison. I have pictures of them that I put up on my site, that I put up on my channel. My beloved Vivi, I'm glad that I married you. I love you so much. Big hearts, Valentine's on billboards. All right? And then bought their wife a Bentley from the joint to, but one of them bought their wife a Bentley from the joint to, you know, for her to come visit them.
These are all bad moves.
Which is what got them separated. And this is the first time they're really, really apart.
Right.
And then when they went to transfer the guy that bought the Bentley, conceived the baby, and put up the billboards, a big, you know, logistical situation like a prison, they sent off the wrong one. They sent the wrong one to another prison. The guy that didn't do nothing got sent to another prison, right? But they actively separated them. Mm-hmm. They didn't see each other again for another 12 and a half years.
Oh, shit. How much time did they do?
12 and a half years.
So that was right away that happened.
It was like the first year and a half in, I believe, if I recall correctly. So that happened. They were separated. And then after that, you just see, you know, Vicentillo talked, you know, all of them went down. Everybody, the Barbies, the Chinos, the cartel just began to crumble at that stage. You know.
Was it Barbie that had the big shootout? Was there a shootout with Barbie?
I don't know. He's the one that they put him. They paraded him in front of. He was smiling. Yeah. And he wearing a soccer shirt and shit. And there was a shootout, but you know, all I saw was a video of him running and him begging for water. Oh. You know what I'm saying? That's what I saw. But yeah, man. So it's to me, their story is an extraordinary story, and like Pierre said, you know, it's stranger than fiction, and you got to work real hard to fuck that story up. So if you're making a TV movie or something like that, and you fuck that up, I don't know how you did it, because their shit is extraordinary. I mean, you know, when they kidnapped Pedro and had him locked up all that time, they had a parrot in there that would just say "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." He was being tortured in there by this parrot. You know, so if that ain't a recipe for a great flick, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Did you see the? Oh gosh. Come on. How am I not? Griselda Blanco. Jesus, how could I not forget? How could I forget that? Did you see that one?
Was it a Netflix? It was a Netflix. Yeah,
it was horrible.
Bro. Yeah, it felt like.
It was. It doesn't like.
It felt like Hollywood.
Yeah, they tried to do a whole kind of like she was like Scarface kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like she's bringing everybody together, and she's got this whole. She's in the big house, and she's. Yeah, it's I really felt like they dramatized the living shit out of that.
Yeah.
But and that's what the problem is that so many times you see a movie, and if you know the real story, especially on that
Pales.
it's like, fuck, like,
Pales
this
in
is horrible.
comparison. It's nothing
But
compared.
when they do these series, though, that's why I think 50 Cent, if
can
he could
dig
do a
in.
series, he can dig in. He can do an 8-part series or a 10-part. Or,
Listen, think about the things that you didn't know that you just found out today.
yeah, that alone is,
Tip of the iceberg.
yeah.
Tip of the iceberg of the madness,
Yeah.
you know, because we ain't talking about the first guy. The first guy, Saul Rodriguez, the first guy that kidnapped Pedro, he was notorious, you know. This guy, what he would do is, let's say he knows an old lady that owns a bar, right? And this happened. He knows a lady that owns a bar. He knows that he's the only person with money that she knows. So he get her snatched up. She comes to him for the ransom. They release her. He charges her the VIG for the rest of her life. And that's what he was doing over and over again. He had a cop that was on his side. This guy was protected by the police. He was on the payroll. This guy would get, I believe it was $7,000 per key that he would get turned over to the law. Like, we have a whole breakdown of it, of what, you know, how much he got paid. It was almost $1 million. But he was a dirtbag from the hood that, so one day J and P separate. I believe Pedro was on his motorcycle. They ride out. He gets snatched up by the police. Police are the kidnappers.
Right.
He's missing. I believe they asked Jay for $3 million. Jay called somebody familiar and said, "You know who that sounded like on the phone? It sounded like Saul." And they said, "Well, if you think it's Saul, it's Saul."
Yeah.
They paid the money. They got their brother back, right? Saul been doing this to all kind of people, and they would find him. They said one time, I heard a story that Cato caught him casing the crib one time, smacked him the fuck up, got him out of there. But nobody could smoke the dude because you didn't want that police on your back. You smoke the guy, his partner gonna come looking for you, you know? So that guy, after the twins get popped off, or not get popped off, after they turn themselves in and they're cooperating, word comes across that this guy wants to kidnap Valerie, and that he wants to, he wants to kidnap her for ransom. And they get word back to Jay, and they're like, can we use her as bait? Jay's like, you don't have to. Just tell them that we left a garage full of money, and he'll show up for you. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. That's another thing that people gave the twins credit for. The people that did give them their credit, they started their cooperation with any of you motherfuckers that owe me money, did me dirty. Now it's your time. Now it's your day of reckoning. You know what I'm saying? To each his own. That was what they wanted. But they didn't have to do much. They didn't have to use Valerie as bait. This guy, boom,
showed up to rob them of some money, and they grabbed him?
They said, just put it out there. Forget. Yeah, we know that he wants to kidnap Val, but just put the bug in his ear that we left some money in the garage. He's gonna go get it. Right. And when he went and got it, they got him. He played himself. But look
what happened to him?
Look, he's in prison right now.
Oh, okay.
He was in my live chat a couple of weeks ago.
Oh. From prison?
Talking about calling himself the forgotten, I believe it's him.
Right.
I'll say this, calling himself the forgotten prisoner. It's like, Papa, you was the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, poor me.
Yeah, you was the bottom of the barrel. You was just a dude that went and tried to take it, But look at the character of these dudes. Jay reached out to him, spoke to him, had a conversation with him recently in prison, to kind of, because they knew after the kidnapping, they knew it was him. They didn't, again, no bodies, didn't do nothing. Dude set up an all-star game weekend in Vegas that they were all at together. They knew these things, but these guys were cerebral. They knew when to jump, when not to jump, when to stay the fuck out of it, when to pay. Jay will tell me all the time. He said, "Man, we spent money to keep people alive. We rather pay the money than have to go get bodies and be followed around all day over these bodies. So to me, it's a whole different scenario. There's nothing status quo about their story. Nothing, not even a little bit.
12 years in prison, and you brought down Chapo. That seems like I should have walked. Do you see what I'm saying? I would have been like, yeah,
and then
I'm walking.
You get out, And then you get out, they take your wives, and they put them in prison. The wives are in prison right now.
For what did they go to prison for?
Money laundering. Evidently, they were spending money. Well, the government, at some point, they would turn over money to the government, right? And then at some point, the government didn't want the money no more. They were like, we'll get to that. We need you to tell us this information about this, and this. So the ladies was like, I got to get to and fro. So they were spending the bread. And their older brother was allegedly, well, they're all in prison, right? You know what I'm saying? Or home, coming home at this point. I don't know if the brother's home yet. But the brother was, he would get the money that they had stashed and he would give it to the girls, and the girls were supposedly spending the money. But this is money that they had claimed and supposedly told the government, we got this money. But they were like, okay, we'll deal with that later. So the ladies were spending the bread, and then later on, they came and screwed the ladies over and sent the ladies to prison. These kids were without their parents for 12 and a half years. Their fathers come home. They were without their fathers for 12 and a half years. These ladies would go visit these men on a regular basis. That's another thing. People say, oh, their wives were opportunists, and Valerie's an opportunist, and she got with Cato and then got with him. They're still together all these years later, through all this bullshit, through all this drama. Them women could have cut bait a long time ago and disappeared on these dudes. And they didn't.
With the money.
With the money. And they didn't. They're right there and end up going to prison, And hopefully they'll be coming home soon. But that's, to me, more of the government sticking it to them. Like you said, they probably should have walked. Chapo? Yeah. What? Because some of the guys that had bodies, lots of bodies, the Chino Anthraxes, that he did with like 6 years. You give these guys 14 years. And not only that, Jay almost passed away. He had like a sepsis shock in prison. He almost passed away in prison. It's just, their story is stranger than fiction. For people that say that they're not built for it, they're little dudes and they're soft, and they don't have the typical cartel look. You know what I'm saying? These are two dudes, soft faces. They don't have that look. That's what people want. Well, you people been sold that shit on TV. These motherfucking guys are different. Just the same way you look at Chapo and you see a guy with a mustache and a trucker hat, but he's a gruesome psychotic killer and a pedo and a chomes and all of these things. And you sitting there wearing the shirt and you're glorifying this fucking dude. Fuck that dude. I don't care if you want to sell dope. You want to sell dope? Cool. Good luck, bro. I hope it works for you. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, once you make some money, if you start taking that money to hurt innocent people, then you just a piece of shit too. It's no longer the streets for me. People say, oh, it's gangster. He did this. That's gangster. No, it's not gangster. That's pussy shit. You know what I'm saying? Oppressing your people. Kidnapping girls in your community, in any community, but I'm saying like Sinaloa is just, they're trapped. Those people are trapped, you know what I'm saying? And it's a sad story, It's a sad story.
Speaking of stories, one of my favorite stories, cooperation stories, is Juan Sanchez. Do you know who Juan Sanchez is? I'll
very
say,
common name, so
no
it's like,
shit.
it could be
Yeah,
50
right.
different. Yeah.
Every time I say Juan says, they're like, that's like just like John Smith.
Yeah,
like, what are you talking
facts.
about? So he's from Venezuela, came to the United States. Anyway, he ended up doing a bunch of real estate scams, right? Real estate fraud. Everybody's used to in prison used to say, "Oh, he's the Spanish Matt Cox."
Oh shit!
So he
do you hold him in such regard? Or?
Yeah, I do. He's pretty good. Right. He's pretty good. So there's a whole series of stories he told. He told. I mean, he's been kidnapped in Venezuela. He lost a ton of their money, and I put it this way: the one of the versions is during the financial crisis, the Venezuelan government, which is the mob, it's like a mob, that they're not, it's not a normal government.
Right.
They were sending him money because they're getting money from Colombia and the cartels to launder money. Supposedly the cartels in Colombia and Mexico think that because they're running the government, they know how to launder money. But she's like, but the truth is, it just happens to be that like the mob is in charge, is now the government. Okay. He's like, it doesn't mean, just because they have matching outfits doesn't mean that they're not still just a mob.
Right.
And he said, so they end up he gets in contact with these guys. He actually goes there to Venezuela to raise money because he's like, several projects he's in charge of are going under.
Okay.
So he goes to them, and this is just during the beginning of the financial crisis, I'm pretty sure. And they give him money. They give him, whatever, 5 million, 10 million. I forget how much it is and he's putting the money into these complexes or these subdivisions, but it doesn't matter because they build the places. The whole place is going, the financial crisis is all going down. He can't sell the properties. He can't sell the mortgage. He can't get rid of them. They lose the money.
Okay.
These guys are contacting him constantly. At one point, he flies back there. They kidnap him.
Okay.
And keep him in a motel for 4 or 5 days till eventually the guards that they've got watching him are drunks, and they get drunk one night and he escapes, gets into an airplane, and flies back to the United States. Well, once he eventually gets caught, right? So eventually the government U.S. government indicts him, everything. As they're unraveling his case, and he's locked up in, I think it's in New York. He's locked up, and he's locked up, and we're talking about the FBI is continually coming to see him, different agents, he said at one point, these 2 guys come in, and this is all without his lawyer, by the way. He's got like a public defender at this point who never wants to talk to him. He can't give him any money. So these 2 guys come to him one day, and he's like, I assumed they were FBI. Turns out they were CIA.
Oh, shit.
And they come in, they talk, because later when he talks to his attorney about it, his attorney's like, did they show you FBI badges? He's like, well, no, but I mean, I thought they were FBI. They said they were.
Wear the same
suit.
suit.
Yeah, I mean, and he's like, yeah, that's not who they were. When they went through his phone, they ended up finding a cell number for what is essentially like the U.S. attorney for the United States. It's the equivalent in Venezuela. And he's like, so it's like the U.S. attorney in Venezuela, right?
Yeah,
so it's a Venezuelan
Yeah.
top dog attorney.
Right.
And he's like, right. And they start talking to him. They're like, you had this cell phone number. Do you know who this guy is? He's like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. They show him a picture. He's like, yeah. They're like, you've met him. He's like, yeah. He was at a party I went to, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
I spilled champagne on his lapel.
Yeah. He's so-and-so. These guys, he's one of the guys, they sent me the money. They were threatening him, where if you don't give us the money back, we're going to fucking off you. We're going to this, we're going to that. They actually went into a prison and videoed a guy dancing. They take a something and they stick it in the guy. The guy's dancing around, screaming, Juan Sanchez, this is what's going to happen to you. Like, this is in prison. And they end up executing him. Well, on like video.
Right.
And they send it to Juan. And so they're like, we saw the video. He's like, yeah, he's one of the guys. That's one of the guys that sent me the video.
Right.
That's one of the guys that had kidnapped me. And he's explaining the whole, he's one of the group. He's like, they're like, you've met him. He's like, yeah. They're like, do you know who he is? He goes, he's somebody in the government. And they explain who he is. He's like, okay. And they're like, yeah, we've had him. He was indicted 5 years ago. Like we'd love to get our hands on him. He's like, do you want me to have him come to the United States? He's like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah. He said 6 months ago or something before I got arrested. He's like, while they were threatening me, he had contacted him and said, hey, I want to bring my family to go to Disney World. And he said, he said, can you figure that how to do that? And he goes, yeah. He said, I can open up a company and have that company say that they're hiring you. And that might get you the ability, I might be able to then get you permission to come to the United States. He said, but I don't really know because I'll have just started the company. Like, it's not like they have tax returns and they know it's an established company. Like, I don't know if it'll work or not, but it might. And the guy goes, well, try it. Because keep in mind, these guys, once he had lost their money, they gave him more money.
Right.
Like, he was like, no, I need more money to finish the thing. I can get you all the money. And they gave him more money.
These guys rob each other, do everything, and they're friends the next day. So.
Right. And he was like, at one point, they were like, we need these cars. He said, give me this much money, I'll get you the cars. Lost that money. Like, I mean, just he kept robbing them. So he goes, I can maybe get you flown in, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. So he does the company, fills out the paperwork, sends it to the guy. The guy sends it to the U.S. Embassy there to try and get some kind of a, whatever that permit is you need to come in the United States, a visa, whatever. And the U.S., the State Department down there, the U.S. Embassy says, no, he's not getting one. Like, this company just got established. It needs to be open for 5 years, whatever the reason is. They said no. And the guy called him up yelling at him, I got a letter for that. He's like, I told you I didn't know if it'd work. So he explains that to the two CIA agents. And they're like, He's like, so all you really have to do is you have his address, you have his information. He goes, just write him a letter from the U.S. Embassy saying it was a mistake.
Clear.
And it's clear and he can come in. He goes, I'm telling you, be on the next plane. And they're like, he can't be that stupid. And he goes, he said, listen.
He so can.
Yeah, he said, listen, he said, you don't get to the level that these guys are at because you're smart. You get there because you're brutal. He is, I assure you, he is that stupid. He will be on the next plane.
I agree.
And they were like, well, they said, well, we'll see. We'll let you know. He's like, okay, well, let me know. Because he's trying to do everything he can to get out of this fucking situation he's in. He's going to get 25 years. The guy leaves. The two guys leave. He gets sentenced. I forget how much time Juan got. 15 years, 20 years, I forget. He ended up raising, by the way, $45,000 for his new attorney by doing a Facebook post.
This guy's a hustler, huh?
From in prison, he gets on the phone, or does he send an email? Somehow or another, he contacts his sister-in-law and says, I need you to get into my Facebook account. I need you to send a post. Here's what it's going to say. And I remember it said, I know a lot of you haven't heard from me in a long time. I was arrested 6 months ago. I was just sentenced to whatever it was, 20 years. I forget what the amount of 20 years. The government has taken all of my money, all of my properties, my family. They've taken my freedom. He said, and now they're taking the last thing I was holding on to, which is my pride. He said, I need $45,000 or I'm going to spend the next 20 years in federal prison. And he said, I need you to send whatever you can to my lawyer, to this lawyer, gives him an address and a phone number. The lawyer eventually comes back to the prison like a month later and says, listen, tell your friends to stop sending me checks for $30 and $20. Like, you set up a PayPal account. Right. Get it all sent to PayPal. He raises $45,000 from that is amazing. So anyway, back to the original story. The two guys leave. He gets sentenced to whatever it was, 20 years, 15 years, I forget. Goes to prison. And one day he's at Coleman, low with me. A guy walks up to him and says, hey man, did you hear that? See that shit in fucking the newspaper, blah, 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 about that guy from Venezuela? He's like, no, what is it? And the guy, they hand him the paper and he opens it up. He goes, it's the fucking guy. They sent him the U.S. Embassy sent him the letter saying, you're approved to come to the United States. He grabs his couple of kids and his wife. They put on Mickey Mouse outfits. They got the fucking airs on. They jump on the plane. They fly into Orlando. Wow. No, it was Miami. Fly into Miami because they're going to go to Orlando, but they fly into Miami. They get off the plane. They're ready to go see Mickey Mouse.
Wow.
It's the shit. Boom, they grab him right there.
It's crazy.
And arrest him. That guy, by the way, ends up a year or so later, they end up at back. He also comes to Coleman. And they see each other. And the guy says to him, because by this point, it's in the newspapers that Juan has cooperated, everything. This guy ends up, the guy from Venezuela, by the way, top dog, cooperates.
The law boy, top law boy too.
He cooperates. He ends up doing like 4 years, less time than Juan, by the way. And this guy's
They made it to Disney eventually.
This guy's a murderer, everything. He comes in, and when he sees Juan in prison, he walks up to him, because guys are like, hey, you know that guy, he's here. And he's like, Juan's like, huh? He sees him, and the guy walks up to him. Oh, no, Juan, I think Juan finds him and says, hey, man, what's up? You know, he's wondering, like, am I going to have to check in? Am I going to have to, what's happening? Like, this is a big guy. He's like, what's up, man? He said, what's not tough, because Juan's not a tough guy. He's like, hey, how's it going, man? What's going on? Yeah. The guy looks at him, he says, yeah. He says, you got me, you're the reason I'm here. And he said, you did kidnap me. Yeah. He's like, you did lose my money. He's like, what are we going to do? Just keep going around and around about this? He's like, what are we doing? He said, are we good? And he's like, yeah, we're good. I'm going to be out of here in a few years. We're good. It's fine. Don't worry. I got no problems with you. He's like, okay. And that was it. Of course, that guy ends up getting it. Juan ended up, U.S. attorney didn't want to, the U.S. attorney hated him so much.
Wouldn't budge.
He didn't want to give him anything. He eventually gets time off his sentence. Then they send him to ICE, in an ICE facility. Then in the ICE facility, they find out he cooperated. He spends his time in the shoe in the ICE facility.
Oh no!
The government's trying to send him back. He's like, you can't send me back to Venezuela.
Toilet, yeah.
They'll kill me in Venezuela. I didn't cooperate against other criminals. I cooperated against the government. There are people right now in Venezuela that can't leave Venezuela anywhere that's extraditable.
Right.
Like they can't leave that country because I got them indicted.
That's crazy.
And the government's trying to send him back and get him murdered.
Right.
So anyway,
not to mention the top law boy is probably back in Venezuela by now. Got his job back. He's back at his desk.
Oh, he's not going to be as okay when when he's in his country. He's not going to be okay anymore.
Yeah, none of that.
But I love the fact that he's like that he got the guy. He's like,
Disneyland.
Write a letter.
Yeah.
Go fly in for Disney with his
Disney
kids. They
World.
grab him at the hospital at the airport.
That was the same move with Saul. It was like, listen, we don't have to put Val out there as bait. Tell him there's 30 keys in the garage that the twins left. He'll come and get it. And then when you know, you know.
Yeah.
You know, when you know, you know. And these guys are so thirsty. And again, so stupid. Again, you got to be brutal.
And brazen.
Yeah.
You get away with shit for so long, you think you're invincible.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's not a unique story. It's not a story that hasn't been told. We see it over and over and over again. These brutes rise to power. You take that power away, they are quiet little church mice, you know? And it's just what it is.
Oh yeah, listen, over the phone, I'm a badass. I say all kinds of crazy shit over the phone. I know lots of guys in the comments that are fucking maniacs till you actually respond to them. And
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, bro, I didn't mean that. You know, I love your shit. I watch all your. You were just saying I was a piece of garbage.
Unchecked behavior.
Right.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I just wanted your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. I see that.
Yeah, it's
now you got it, motherfucker. Now I'm calling you out your name.
Right. Oh, no, bro. Like I think I probably do the same thing in your position. No doubt.
I don't know if you heard recently about what happened on the Las Vegas Strip between two YouTubers. There was two YouTubers that have been beefing.
Somebody got killed? Somebody got shot?
Sin City Manny and Finny the Legend. They would just shit talk each other on the internet. Finney made it his business to just destroy this guy's channel, and they just added over and over. And they had physical altercations before, but this time they saw each other. Manny knew that Finney was in town, and it all happened on live stream. He walked up. His wife noticed. Finney's wife noticed Manny. She's like, "Don't come over here with that bullshit." She get between him and Finney. He just upstrapped, smoked Finney, and then smoked his wife. Left them both right there on the pavement.
This is a YouTube
Two
channel.
YouTubers.
See, we're in some dangerous shit here, Colby.
This pull up culture.
YouTubers are the new gangsters.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What were their YouTube channels about?
Well, Finney's YouTube channel was about Manny. That's all he did was shit Manny all day long. And Manny's channel was Manny would he was like the king of the strip. You know, he would go to restaurants and he was always he would paint his face, and they would do these big performances on the street and shit like that. It was strange. I didn't know about either one of them until it went down.
YouTubers.
These are two YouTubers, but here's the thing. I have a friend, shout out Zaya X. He had a channel like that. There's a lot of channels like that where they're just based on personal shit with people. And this situation has changed his life. He's deleting shit off his channel. He's like, I ain't got nothing to say to nobody. Troll all you want, because this pull up, everybody's daring each other to pull up. Pull up. You ain't gonna pull up. You talking shit on the internet. Pull up. Well, when somebody pulls up, shit gets bloody. People pull up and you end up dead.
Okay, so all right. So the one guy got arrested, obviously. He killed him on camera.
He claimed self-defense, but that shit ain't gonna fly.
No, self-defense.
He said that he felt like Finney was reaching and that the gimbal that she had was black and shiny and he thought it was a gun. That shit.
You approached the guy on the strip. You could have walked
Not
away.
only that,
you could have
he's on video all day long.
talking
Where you
shit.
at? I know you around. I'm coming. He said, I've been to every casino. I've been on every street.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You're making gestures to you're done. Pops. You popped.
I mean, this is YouTube.
YouTube.
I can't imagine anything more silly than taking a serious grudge against somebody on a YouTube channel.
I mean, the cartel's doing it now.
Oh,
right?
yeah, where the guys talk shit and then they hunt them down.
And not only that, not only do they hunt them down, just talk about this snitch shit again. You know what I'm saying? They have full-on pamphlets, both sides. The Chapito side, the Mayo side. They throw out pamphlets, like old school style. I used to throw a bunch of flyers off a fucking plane. with all the YouTubers that are connected and that have picked a side and said, these people get paid from that cartel, you should turn them in. You shouldn't support these people. And they'll have all, and then now they use those images as, put the X on them. This one's deceased, this one's deceased, this one's deceased, this one's deceased.
I had heard that like some TikToker was making fun of, made fun of somebody like
You
made fun of somebody, and then they
you're
ended up
probably
going to find
talking
him
about
years ago, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It was El Mencho did it, but it was El Pirata de Culiacan. The pirate of Culiacan. He was he was a teenager, but he was an alcoholic. And he would do a lot of drinking streams. And he was drinking, and he said he basically invited Mencho to, and they went and blew up a whole club about it and ended him right there in the club. Yeah. El Pirata de Culiacan. He was a young kid. He said dude's name. And then there was a couple copycats. And then those copycats was coming with apology videos the next day, in tears, like, please, I mean, I'm in the States. I cover the cartel. I don't cover them nicely. My mission is I'm looking for the monster in these motherfuckers. I want to expose the monster. I want to understand. Yeah, it's cool to love the Scarface movie and this and that, but Scarface had a code in the sense of no kids, no women. Mm-hmm. At least he had that code. These guys don't have that fucking code, Miss me with the, snitch this, snitch that. They're all snitches. Everybody's using it against each other. It's a tool in the bag, just the same way the gun is, just the same way the passport is, just the same way a phone is a tool. Snitching, same thing for them. And last night my niece was like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go over here." She started digging in my channel, and she's like, "I'm gonna flag your channel. We gotta get this. They're gonna come and get you." She's like, "I want to get your channel dead." And I'm like, "I'm not worried about it." I came up in Chicago. My life was on the line every single day. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing I want to talk about. The internet is just everybody. If you stole a car in 1992, if you sold a nickel bag in 89 in the park, you can be interviewed on the internet and you can be talked to. I'm not one for reminiscing. I got a million stories that I could tell. I'd rather tell those stories in movie and TV. You know what I'm saying? But when I look at the internet, I just hear so much bullshit and so many fucking lies, and it's disgusting at this point. And everybody they're feeding these kids lies, and these kids are going and reenacting these fucking lies. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's ridiculous, and it's the same as wearing the Chapo shirt, the Pablo Escobar shirt. There's a rapper named Lefty Gunplay, very popular rapper in Cali, right? And salute to Lefty Gunplay. I saw him wearing this outfit, and I said, this Chapo, Pablo Escobar, I said to myself, I'm pretty sure Lefty Gunplay don't want to be associated with these fucking chomos that he's wearing on his shirt, but he just don't know no better.
Yeah.
And to me, that's sad because, I said this to my niece yesterday, and she said, man, my high school is full of kids wearing Pablo Escobar shirts. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why? So my mission with my channel and with what I talk about, which is why I don't give a shit who likes it or don't like it, my mission is to find the monster and expose the monster to these kids who are getting a glorified version of these fucking monsters. That's basically it.
So I have a question. Is it your full-time thing, YouTube?
Yeah, acting in YouTube, basically, yeah.
What have you been in?
Chicago PD, Chicago Fire. I was just in a film called Green and Gold. It just released recently it's a film with you remember the show Coach? The dude from Poltergeist?
Yeah,
he's the main role in that. I was just in that. What else? And some indie stuff. Yeah, I got a little reel going. So yeah, between acting and YouTube and then just whatever else. Sometimes I'll ghostwrite for people. Sometimes I'll somebody will pay me for a verse. Whatever I can get, I get it. I do anything to not work for the man or a man or somebody else that ain't me. You know what I'm saying? That's basically it.
You know this guy too? You know these guys
Jay?
too? Yeah.
I know Jay.
Just he contacted you, right?
Yeah, Jay one time, he didn't really contact. I mean, he contacted me, but it was to get in touch with Pete because he was very impressed with how articulate Pete is and how structured, the structure and, Pete, the way he lays everything down. It's very, it's very methodical,
Absolutely. I covered his BMF. He was the other side of the table when it came to the BMF conversation
Yeah.
because we were convinced. All right, he's a fucking snitch. Third party cooperation. Pierre came with a bunch of stuff and
Well, and Pete, here's a problem. Well, I guess the problem is Pete is very focused on what the record shows, and he can read the record. You know, like you get these guys who have done legal work for fucking 20 years, and they can tell you exactly what's going on with the record, what's happening. Well, this is why this happened, and this is why this happened. Especially since you can look through a record and see one thing, but Pete doesn't just look through the record. He's also typically got the inmate in front of him, right? He's got the defendant in front of him. So when the defendant's saying, well, here's what happened at this point, Pete's like, that's why that happened. I couldn't quite figure out why. So as he sees these things over and over again, he gets to a point where he can look at the record and sit down and say, okay, so at this point, this is when you decided to cooperate, right? And the guy's like, he's like, well, what does it say? It says that. No, it doesn't say that here. But what happened was initially the government had filed this and this and this. At this point, this and this. This is when they put in the witness list. This is what, and he's like, and at this point, you changed your plea. The only reason you would have changed your plea after getting this recommendation from the judge, or this after winning this from the judge, is because you realized that so and so, this one of your co-defendants decided to cooperate, and then the guy's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, he's like a paperwork whisperer,
right?
Shit.
How do you know that? And he's like, "Well, because you had you won these motions. There was no reason for you not to go to trial at this point, unless the guy that you expected not to cooperate was going to cooperate, and you knew he was going to put the final nail in your coffin, and that's when you decided to cooperate." So Pete can read this shit like. And so for Pete to go in, and he even knows how the government will disguise things. Because some people don't realize this. Sometimes the government will disguise a cooperation as something else. So that they know, because the defendant knows, I can't go to prison at the level I'm going to with cooperation paperwork on my head, in my jacket or on my docket. So we need to figure out how to mask it. And so Pete can see that. And he can very clearly look at the record, and his whole thing was looking, after going through the entire record on the Big Meech thing, he's like, there's just nothing that says this guy cooperated. And that just does, and this also doesn't make sense. And so that's Pete. I tell you one thing, which is funny, because there's a guy, Frank Amadeo, who worked on my case. I give you a similar situation with Amadeo. I filed 2 2255s because even though I cooperated, the government didn't want to give me my cooperation credit. They just didn't. They tried to fuck me both times.
Of course not.
So the second time we put in a 2255, it got to a point where the judge had to either order an evidentiary hearing and bring me back and let us argue in front of him, which even in that situation, the judge knew in the end I was going to lose. So even if we get the U.S. attorney in front of me and my attorney in front of the judge, and we argue, they said this, they said this, they said that, in my district, it's already been decided, no matter what, that a defendant cannot compel the government to file a Rule 35. So that decision's been made. And the judge knew, even if you win and come back and we explain it, you'll lose. It's been decided. Now, most of the time, if the judge says, okay, I'll bring back both parties, we're going to argue, most of the time the government ends up giving you something. Because they don't want to have to get in front of the judge and basically say, yeah, we lied. We told him this, we told him this, They don't want to stand in front of the judge and the judge to look at him and think, I'm going to rule in your favor because I have to. But you're a scumbag.
Right.
And from now on, government, when these attorneys and when any of you guys come to me on another case, I'm not going to believe you.
Right. Because you're using all these lies as leverage.
Right. So instead, what the judge did was he immediately filed. He said, he made a ruling, and he said, I'm ruling in favor of the government. So we're not going to have an evidentiary hearing. So, Mr. Cox, I'm denying your 2255. So that should be it, by the way.
Right.
He said, but I believe that he said based on the current, precedences, I'm ruling on because of this reason. He goes, I don't have jurisdiction to rule on this. He said, but the appellate court does. And now there's something that has to happen for you you can't just appeal your case. You have to get something called a certificate of appealability, which means you have to fight in front of a magistrate judge, even to give you the certificate to appeal your case. You also have to pay $500. Typically, when you go to appeal, the magistrate judge says, nah, this isn't worth appealing. It's done. You're done. It's over.
Window, huh?
And you have to pay $500. Even if he says yes, you then have to pay $500. Now, I've already explained to the court, I have no money. I'm indigent. I can't pay for an attorney. So I need you to appoint me an attorney. And I don't have $500. Like, that's basically what I've said. I don't, they already think this guy got no money. So the judge says, one, I don't have jurisdiction, but I believe that so this is something that would have to be decided by the appellate court. He said, and I believe that this is something that the appellate court can and should look at. He said, and I'm going to waive
I was just going to say that. Can't you just waive the $500?
Right.
You like Chapo. You could just get my brother back.
Right. He goes, the judge goes, I'm going to waive the certificate of appealability, and I'm going to waive the $500. And so I saw that, and all I saw was, I just lost my case. The judge said he doesn't have jurisdiction, and that I could appeal it. I didn't see all that other stuff. When Frank saw it and he read it, I was like, Frank, this is what I got in the fucking mail. And I'm like thinking, I'm done. He gets it. And the look on his face was like, oh, wow. And I was like, what? He's like, this is amazing. And I was like,
spit it out.
Amazing? I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I just got fucked. That's amazing.
Right.
He goes, you don't understand. This is your district judge telling the government and the appellate court, this guy has a case. He should get something.
Right.
I can't give it to him.
Somebody should.
But somebody should. And I'm fast tracking it. I believe this so much. He's not going to a magistrate judge. He doesn't have to pay $500. He's going straight to you. And I think you should give him something. But I can't.
Read between all the lines.
Right. I didn't see any of that. They didn't say that. But
guys like that.
Someone like Frank and Pete would have been like, I've never seen them waive the magistrate a judge or the certificate of
and I've seen 1,000 of these.
Exactly. I've never seen them waive the $500 without you having to go. That's a whole nother procedure, trying to plead to them, can you waive the $500 because I don't have it, I'm indigent. You guys took all my money. So that's do you realize that's a year worth of fighting? If you won all those fights, it's a year before you can even appeal it. It's another 2 or 3 years so he saw all that immediately. And the moment I filed my appeal, the government came forward and said, Your Honor, we're filing a Rule 35, give him the reduction. Immediately bowed. They did the whole procedure.
Right.
Hoping that the judge is going to give him, he's going to fuck him. The judge said,
it was basically a personal memo from the judge, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, guys like that nail it.
Right.
Guys like Pierre can see and read between those lines.
Exactly.
It's a whole different thing, yeah.
I can't. I'm horrible.
I would have been like, what? I'd have been like, yeah, I'm fucked.
They just fucked me. I'm walking around here, they fucked me. You show it to Pete, and Pete's like, what are you talking
What are you
about?
talking about? You're in the best shape of
Like,
ever.
the judge just told the government they owe you something.
Yeah.
Where do you see that? And then Frank's like, absolutely, that's what that says. Like, I told you. And I'm like, and of course, you show it to anybody who's been doing law work that long. They all saw the same thing that I did not see. And that's why I'm saying when Pete looks at something and he reviews it and he comes back and says, this is my conclusion, he's almost right all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, no. So I enjoy watching him break things down. I really do. He as like when you said that Jay was explaining, why he wanted to get in contact with Pierre. He's like that. He's concise. He got his shit unlocked. He just knows his shit. I think they're just selling kids bullshit and selling kids dreams, and the internet is here to perpetuate it. And I just want to be the other side of that shit. Same way where I told Jay, I'm not in the business of teaching people how to cooperate, how to get in touch with none of that. I'm just trying to tell you the game's dead. It ain't what it used to be, and it's definitely not what you see on TV. That's basically it. And follow the Flores Twins story. The shit is stranger than fiction. What I gave you is the tip of the iceberg. TV show happens again. You can't fuck that up. You fuck that up. I don't know what you if you fuck that up, you were trying to fuck that up. You know, because the story is just so crazy that you can't ruin it. And you asked, if I'm sorry. We spoke on you talking to Jay reaching out to you to get up with Pierre. And stuff like that. I'm the only person on the internet that's had the twins together on my show. I'm the only one. Peter don't come out often. He's not one for the limelight or telling the stories. Again, I'm not one, like I told you, I'm not one for all the reminiscing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But with Jay, I do a show called Former Kingpin Reacts, where we find cards. We just focused on you recently. We find something on the internet.
He sent me. He sent me that.
We find something on the internet that is cartel related or may sound like some bullshit or maybe is a good thing, and he reacts to it, and I enjoy it. I kind of stay out of it. I just produce the show. I stay out of it because who has his experience? Who has his perspective? If I can benefit from that perspective and help other people benefit from his perspective, why not? And if there's a liar on the internet that needs to be called out, then there's a liar on the internet that needs to be called out, and it is what it is. I'm good. Shout out to the usual suspects, which is my chat. Salutes to the usual suspects.
That's what that.
My chat, my live chat on my channel.
Oh, okay. What's the channel called?
Shy L Reacts.
Shy L Reacts.
Shy L, Chicago, Illinois. Shy L Reacts.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. We're going to leave Shy's link to his channel in the description box. It's Shy L Reacts. So go in the description box, click on it, go to his channel, subscribe, check out all of his content. Once again, I appreciate you guys watching. Please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help us produce these videos. Thank you very much. See ya.
All right, really quickly, just repeat after Matt. We basically just replaced drug names.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't get demonetized.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I trust me.
So Bud.
Okay.
Okay.
Bud.
H.
Blow. Powder.
The powders. Powder. Sorry.
And then for pedophile, I think I use Chomo. I think it's interchangeable.
But just Cho.
Cho? Okay.
Cho.